You cannot be rich, not because God doesn't want you to be, not because you lack talent, and not because the opportunity isn't there. You cannot be rich because you have secretly fallen in love with the most dangerous, faith-destroying lie in the modern church, the belief that your only job is to wait. This is the great spiritual sideline lie. It's a subtle poison that sounds like piety. It whispers that true faith is passive, a holy waiting game where you pray, fast, and hope, while God orchestrates a supernatural drop of wealth into your lap without you lifting a finger to plan, strategize, or build. It's the mindset that treats God like a heavenly lottery machine and your faith as the ticket you keep inserting, wondering why you haven't hit the jackpot. This lie is so seductive because it absolves you of all responsibility. If you fail, it wasn't your fault, it just wasn't God's timing. This paralyzing belief has created a generation of financially crippled believers who are experts at quoting scriptures on breakthrough, but amateurs at creating a budget. We shout about God owning the cattle on 1,000 hills, yet we have no plan for managing the pasture He's already given us. We have confused patience with passivity and waiting on God with doing nothing for God. Let me be clear, this is a complete distortion of biblical faith. Hebrews 11:1 says, "Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen." It does not say faith is the absence of action. In fact, the rest of that chapter is a hall of fame of men and women whose faith was proven by their actions. Noah's faith wasn't just believing God about a flood. His faith was expressed in the sound of his hammer hitting wood for decades, building an ark when there wasn't a cloud in the sky. His faith had a blueprint. His faith produced sawdust. What is your faith producing? Think of the Israelites trapped at the Red Sea, with Pharaoh's army closing in. They cried out to God, and what was His response? Did He say, just stand there and sing another chorus? No. In Exodus 14:15, God's command to Moses was a spiritual shockwave. Why are you crying out to me? Tell the people to move forward. The miracle of the parting sea was contingent on their obedience to move. God's supernatural power met their natural forward-moving step. You are praying for God to part the Red Sea of your debt, but you are standing still on the shore, refusing to take the first step. You are waiting for a miracle, while God is waiting for movement. This lie is rooted in a misunderstanding of God's sovereignty. Yes, God is sovereign, but His sovereignty does not negate your responsibility. It empowers it. He is the one who established the universal law of sowing and reaping in Galatians 6:7. That principle doesn't just apply to morality, it applies to your finances. You cannot sow idleness and reap abundance. God is sovereign, and in His sovereignty, He has called you to be a co-laborer, not a spectator. This lie has convinced you that you're just a fan in the stands of your own financial story. But the truth is, God has handed you the playbook and is telling you to get in the game. He isn't looking for a fan, He's looking for a manager. That's right, God is not looking for a fan, He's looking for a manager. The entire architecture of the kingdom economy is built not on passive waiting, but on active, faithful stewardship. And this is the biblical truth that obliterates the lie of inactivity. Stewardship isn't just about tithing. Tithing is the kindergarten of kingdom finance. Stewardship is the master's degree. It's the understanding that you own nothing, but you are responsible for managing everything He has put in your hands. Your income, your assets, your time, your skills, with the strategic mind of a CEO and the faithful heart of a servant. The most damning evidence against the spiritual sideline lie is found in Matthew 25, in the parable of the talents. A master entrusts his wealth to 3 servants before leaving on a journey. Notice, he gave to each according to his ability. God knows what you're capable of handling. The first 2 servants, given 5 and 2 talents, the scripture says they went at once and put the money to work, doubling it. There was no delay, no committee meeting, no 40-day fast to confirm the vision. Their faith was immediate obedience. Their stewardship was active. But then we have the 3rd servant. He is the poster child for the modern passive believer. What does he do? He digs a hole and buries the master's money. His excuse is dripping with the false piety we see today. Master, I knew you to be a hard man, so I was afraid and I went and hid your talent in the ground. He disguised his laziness as caution. He cloaked his fear in a twisted view of his master's character. His sin was not that he lost the money. His sin was that he did nothing with it. His judgment was severe. "You wicked, lazy servant." The master didn't condemn his results. He condemned his inaction. How many of us have buried the financial talents God has given us? That business idea, that investment opportunity, that budget we know we need to create, all because we're afraid or waiting for a sign. You are not being safe. You are being wicked and lazy by heaven's economic standard. The reward for the faithful servants wasn't retirement, it was more responsibility. "Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a little. I will set you over much." This is the key. God will not give you the much until you have faithfully managed the little. You are praying for a promotion while being a poor steward of your current salary. You are asking for a business that generates millions while you can't manage a household budget of a few thousand. Look at the biblical model of Joseph. His anointing was intensely practical. In prison, he didn't just lead a prayer meeting. He managed the entire facility so effectively that the warden paid no attention to anything under Joseph's care. Genesis 39:23. When he stood before Pharaoh, he didn't just interpret a dream. He delivered a 14-year national economic strategy involving cash flow forecasting and resource management that saved the known world from starvation. Joseph's holiness had a spreadsheet. His wisdom built storehouses. True stewardship begins with knowing the exact state of your flocks, as Proverbs 27:23 advises. In today's world, that means you must engage in the spiritual discipline of net worth tracking. You must know what you have, what you owe, and in which direction it's moving. It means creating a budget, which is the single most foundational act of financial stewardship. A budget is you, as God's manager, giving every dollar He has entrusted to you a kingdom assignment. Using a tool like YNAB, You Need a Budget, or Every Dollar, isn't worldly. It's a modern-day manager's ledger, a dashboard for your divine responsibilities. I know what some of you are thinking. Budgeting, tracking, that feels so unspiritual, so carnal. This is the next dangerous layer of the lie. The belief that the practical tools of wealth are somehow beneath a person of great faith. But what if I told you that your budget is a holy document? What if your financial plan is in fact an act of worship? Your budget is a holy document. Your financial plan is an act of worship. This is the mindset shift that will ignite your breakthrough, because we must sanctify financial strategy. We must reclaim the tools of wealth from the world and consecrate them for kingdom purpose. The devil's greatest trick is convincing the church that the principles of financial management are carnal or unspiritual. This lie keeps you poor, powerless, and dependent, preventing you from ever funding the gospel on a massive scale. The Bible is the greatest financial book ever written, and it is filled with practical strategy. Proverbs 21:5 declares, "The plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty." The word for plans there in Hebrew is machashabeth, which means a device, a plot, a well-thought-out design. God is literally telling you that having a strategic financial design leads to abundance. He isn't just interested in your heart, He's interested in your blueprint. Let's get brutally practical. When you are drowning in debt, praying for a miracle debt cancellation is part of the equation, but faith without works is dead. Sanctifying your strategy means you actively co-labor with God by choosing a proven method for debt reduction. This is where you bring a tool like the debt snowball method, popularized by Dave Ramsey, or the debt avalanche method to God in prayer. You lay out your debts from smallest to largest or by highest interest rate, and you say, "God, here's my plan. I am applying wisdom. Now I ask for your supernatural favor to accelerate it. Bring unexpected income. Give me the discipline to stick to it." You are marrying heavenly power with earthly diligence. The same is true for building wealth through investing. Many Christians see investing as worldly gambling. They're sitting on cash in a low-yield savings account, praying for God to multiply it, while its purchasing power is being eaten alive by inflation. That is not faith, that is poor stewardship. God gave Solomon wisdom that led to immense wealth, and part of that wisdom is understanding principles like compounding interest utilization. When you open an account with a robo-advisor like Betterment or Wealthfront, and set up automated savings investing, you are applying the principle of diligence. You are putting your money to work, just like the first two servants in the parable of the talents. An exchange-traded fund ETF that tracks the S&P 500 isn't a worldly tool. It's a modern-day ox that you can put to work plowing your field so that you can produce a harvest. Consider the Proverbs 31 woman, the biblical icon of kingdom entrepreneurship. The text says she considers a field and buys it. Out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard. This is a multi-step financial process. She engaged in financial planning, considering the field. She made a capital acquisition, buying it, and then she invested in a long-term, income-producing asset, planting a vineyard. She was a brilliant steward who used her earnings to create more value. She didn't just pray for a vineyard to appear. Her faith was active, strategic, and productive. Your credit score is not a mark of the beast. It's a tool that reflects your integrity and faithfulness with what you've been loaned. Managing it wisely using free services like Credit Karma or Experian is an act of stewardship. A high credit score is a testimony to your financial discipline, and it unlocks better interest rates, which frees up more cash flow for you to invest in the kingdom. Stop spiritualizing your procrastination. Stop calling financial ignorance trusting God. True trust is proven by your obedience to implement the wisdom He has already provided in His Word and in the world. Prayer is not your strategy. Prayer is the fuel for your strategy. It's time to stop praying for a plan and start presenting your plan in prayer. Prayer is not a financial plan, it is the supernatural fuel for your financial plan. This is the truth that moves you from being a beggar with a wish list to a co-laborer with a blueprint. For too long, we have treated prayer like a desperate last-ditch effort, throwing vague requests at heaven like, "God, please, I need a financial breakthrough." That is an aimless prayer. It lacks substance, strategy, and a target. It's time to stop praying aimless prayers and start creating a prophetic, faith-fueled financial blueprint. What is a prophetic plan? It is the practical application of Habakkuk 2:2. Write the vision, make it plain on tablets, so he may run who reads it. Your financial plan is you on paper writing down God's vision for your financial future. It's a holy document where faith and finances merge. It's you declaring, by the grace of God and according to His principles, this is where I am going. I will be 100% debt-free. I will have a fully funded emergency fund. I will build multiple streams of income to fund my family in the kingdom. I will leave an inheritance for my children's children. The ultimate biblical model for this is Nehemiah. When Nehemiah heard that the walls of Jerusalem were broken down, his first response was to weep, fast, and pray for days. That was his spiritual fuel. But his faith did not stop at the amen. When he finally got his audience with the king, he didn't show up with a vague request for help. He showed up with a plan. He had already done the work. In Nehemiah chapter 2, he asks the king for specific letters to grant him safe passage. Then he asks for a letter to Asaph, the keeper of the king's forest, to give him timber to make beams for the gates. He had a materials list. He had a supply chain strategy. He had done the financial planning before the provision was released. His prayer gave him the favor and courage, but his plan gave God something tangible to bless and the king something specific to approve. So how do you create your prophetic plan? It starts with the spiritual discipline of goal setting. You must write it down. You want to be debt-free? By when? To the exact month and year. You want to build an emergency fund? How many months of expenses? What is the dollar amount? You want to start investing? How much per month will you pay yourself first? These goals are the foundation of your plan. You can use a simple tool like a Google Sheets template or a more comprehensive platform like Empower Personal Dashboard, formerly Personal Capital, to get a crystal clear picture of your finances and track your progress towards these goals. Next, your plan must involve income diversification. Relying on a single paycheck is standing on one leg financially. It's a position of extreme vulnerability. It is not a sign of faith in God's provision through your job. It is a failure to recognize that God has limitless channels to bless you. Look at a modern faith giant like Strive Masiyiwa, the Christian billionaire from Zimbabwe who founded Econet Global. He didn't just pray for wealth. While working for the state-owned telephone company, he started a small electrical engineering business on the side with just $75. He planned, he built, and he used his wisdom to create a new channel for God's provision to flow. This entire process must be viewed with a long-term investing horizon. You are not building for a weekend. You are building for a legacy. This is why 1 Timothy 5 verse 8 is so critical, stating that anyone who does not provide for his own household has denied the faith. Part of that provision is planning for the future. Your prophetic plan must include retirement and legacy, ensuring the wealth God helps you build blesses generations to come. Your plan is your declaration of war against the poverty spirit. It is the architectural drawing for your financial destiny. You've dismantled the lie of passivity. You understand the mandate of stewardship. You've sanctified the tools and built a prophetic plan. Now there's only one thing left to do: execute. It is time to activate the co-laborer's kingdom blueprint and step into your role as an active partner with God in building wealth. A blueprint is useless if it stays on the table. It's time to build. First, you must execute your debt elimination plan. That prophetic plan to be debt-free, it comes to life the moment you make your first extra payment. Whether you're using the debt snowball or the debt avalanche, taking that first intentional step is a prophetic act. It's you swinging the first sledgehammer against the walls of your financial prison. It is a declaration of war on lack. Second, you must automate your stewardship. The most effective way to build wealth is to make your righteous intentions automatic. This is a non-negotiable. Go into your bank account or payroll system this week and set up automatic transfers. Automate your tithe and offerings, because generosity must lead the way. Then, automate your savings and investing using the pay yourself first principle. Set up an automatic transfer every payday into a high-yield savings account for your emergency fund and into a retirement vehicle like a Roth IRA with a provider like Fidelity or Vanguard. Discipline that is automated becomes a habit, and habits build dynasties. Third, you must activate your income diversification plan. Your prophetic blueprint for new income streams must move from idea to action. Who is your biblical model for this? Lydia, the seller of purple goods in Acts 16. She was a successful businesswoman, a worshiper of God, whose marketplace success positioned her to fund the Apostle Paul's mission and host the first church in her region. She co-labored with God through her enterprise. What is the one small step you can take today to launch your Lydia-like venture? Register the website, make one sales call, create the social media page, stop waiting for the perfect moment, and start with the possible action. Finally, you must commit to continuous financial education. Your growth as a steward is directly tied to your growth in knowledge. The world of finance changes. Your understanding must deepen. Follow and learn from wise, faith-filled voices in the financial space like Chris Hogan or Michael Hyatt. Read books. Listen to podcasts. A co-laborer never stops learning how to better manage the master's resources. The lie is exposed. The truth has been revealed. You are not a spectator. You are a co-laborer. You are not called to a life of passive waiting, but to a life of active, strategic, faith-fueled building. Now I want you to make these declarations with me. Let this be the turning point for your financial life. Repeat them, write them down, and put them where you can see them every day. I am a steward, not an owner. I manage all I have for God's glory. I am a co-laborer with Christ, and my faith requires action. My financial plan is an act of worship and a blueprint for my breakthrough. I will use wisdom, strategy, and diligence to build wealth for the kingdom. I move from passive waiting to active building, starting today. If this message has set a fire in your spirit and you are ready to stop waiting and start building wealth God's way, then your next step is to hit that subscribe button and join the WealthOga community. We are a family of kingdom entrepreneurs and wealth builders dedicated to funding the Great Commission and creating a lasting legacy.